Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for another and a huge Premier League preview live stream ahead of Chelsea versus Manchester United. Now, a couple of weeks ago, ahead of playing Milan initially at home at Stamford Bridge, we were talking about that probably being the biggest game of the season so far. Now, a lot of people have been talking about how this is Graham Potter's biggest challenge as Chelsea manager so far. So, the question is, does that make it the biggest game of the season? I wonder. Lewis, I'll start with you. First of all, thank you for being here. We don't get to actually stream with each other that often anymore these days. So whenever we do, I have a great time. So cheers for being on, mate.
Yeah, good to be back. Good to be back, bro.
There you go, bro. Shout out to the background. Not sure if my viewers actually got to see your background yet, but shout out. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, we've upgraded. We're moving up in the world.
There you go. There you go. Do you think it is the biggest game of the season so far?
Every game is for me at this point. Everyone's talking about Potter's biggest test and all of this. Potter's biggest test is going to be after we lose. It's just going to be about how we bounce back, because I think especially when you change a manager, change philosophy and all of that, you have these ups and downs. So it's about how you manage them. Right now, we're on a positive run. We didn't, even though I say that we didn't play well in the last two games, we were lucky to escape that with a win and a draw. But we haven't lost. We're still keeping clean sheets. There's still optimism around. I think people can still be at least cautiously optimistic. So United's like on paper the biggest game that we've had this season, but it's not the most important one. I don't want to say in a pessimistic way. It's going to be the first game after we lose. We need to see how Chelsea can bounce back. I'm not going to speak that into existence, but I think that's just a way to just say it's not every game is big. I don't think there's a biggest one.
That's a good point, actually, because like you say, we haven't lost yet under Graham Potter, so it will be about how we bounce back from that. Although, regardless almost of who the manager is, our team is so used to the whole bounce back thing because we so often unnecessarily lose a stupid game and then we need to go back to winning ways. Unfortunately, that's kind of how it runs at Chelsea way too many times, if you ask me. Before I take it to Pies, Lewis, about Graham Potter. Now, obviously, rather than going back all the way to Thomas Tuchel, how have you felt the first few weeks under Graham Potter have gone? Because tactically, while we are very versatile and changing formations in game, between games, all sorts of madness, the kind of the base of which we go off is still very similar to what we did on Thomas Tuchel. Now, of course, with Reece James' injury and Kante still being out, we haven't quite been able to actually dip into that completely. But still, so have you seen, number one, what's been the biggest change in your opinion to how we do things? And number two, do you think there will be more Potter style to come? Or do you think it will always be a little bit like this for the rest of Potter's time?
Not too sure. Like, if I was to speak about Potter's first few weeks, I'd call it confidence building, because our confidence in the squad was just in the gutter when Tuchel left. I don't think we had complete faith in anyone except Silva, James. You could debate maybe one or two people, but I think those are the only outright two that would have stood out.
True.
Since then, like, we've racked up wins, we've racked up clean sheets. I feel a lot more confident in the squad in the whole. I actually don't go to games now thinking we're going to get pammed. I think we're actually going to have a fight at the very least. But I'm also not getting too carried away with myself, because like we're winning and everything. But this is where the test question comes back in, because it's like we played a Wolves side without a manager. We've played an injury-prone AC Milan side. Struggled against Villa, struggled against Palace, struggled against Brentford. Like, it's not been the best in terms of watching the games, but it's been confidence building in the fact that we haven't been losing. And that gives us a bit more confidence in the squad. And once we start scoring, we seem to close games out well. And Potter's substitutions as well, the in-game management, it's all been good for building confidence. But in terms of our long-term process, like, I don't think we're near there yet. We're not winning games convincingly enough to get to that point, but I'm also not really demanding it from Potter right now. It's just once I see that, that's where my confidence will really start to grow.
Absolutely, I do agree. I think certain parts of performances that we have had against Brentford, against Villa, not great. If I'm honest, like I like Graham Potter a lot, the way he speaks to the media and stuff, and a lot of the things he says, I'm a big fan of. Although he's, for my personal preference, a bit too happy that against teams that shouldn't dominate us, that those teams dominate us. He seems to be not annoyed enough by that, in my opinion. I'm like, he says, yeah, every team will like cause you to suffer at times. And then even Trevor Chalobah in this interview, yeah, what the biggest thing the manager's brought in, at times you have to suffer. The most important thing is suffering. I'm like, yeah, have I time travel back to 2017? What's happened here? Like,
well, say that again. What was that?
basically, Chalobah was just talking about how, yeah, every now and again you need to suffer, and that's the most important thing. Like, we need to be able to suffer as well at times. I'm like, well, that's true.
Don't like that.
We're Chelsea Football Club. Let's not focus too much on the suffering, man. Do you know what I mean?
That is 17, 18 vibes right there. And I'm not saying nothing because, like, it's still very speculative. We don't know what Potter's like. He could be ripping into players in the changing room for all we know.
True.
But yeah, less of the suffer talk, please. And I like Kante, but no, I don't want that Kante.
Exactly my thoughts. Like, let's not do the suffering bit. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, sure, if we play, I don't know, AC Milan or Man United, obviously Man City, Liverpool. If you play those teams, yeah, of course, in certain periods of the game, you have to suffer. But against Aston Villa and Brentford, I don't think, especially Villa in the situation they were and are in, we shouldn't be going into games being okay with having to suffer against those. We should try to avoid that happening. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
Villa was like the most... that fan base is so toxic in the last few weeks under Gerrard. There was obvious issues on the pitch. Going into the game, it was the one thing I saw is that they don't make a lot of chances, and they should have been 4-1 up at half-time. And it's like, these are the little things I'm still noticing, but I'm not trying to put too much energy onto it because we're not losing. So I was like, at least we could be positive now.
Absolutely. Pice, let me take it to you. Obviously, you've been on more streams as of late, so I'm not going to ask you to summarize Potter's start to his career at Chelsea so far. But I will ask you how you're feeling ahead of tomorrow, because we are on a decent run. Obviously, the last game we didn't win, but we're unbeaten in all games under Graham Potter so far. But Man United are also not on a bad run. I mean, I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure maybe they've had some loss in there in the meantime. But in general, the run has not been bad. And obviously beating Spurs. Now, obviously, we should have beat Spurs if it wasn't for VAR. But in the end, we didn't beat Spurs. And it was arguably their best performance of the season. So does that put us in a position where you're a little bit concerned? Especially because obviously we haven't beaten United in the league since, 2017 or something? Wasn't it that Kante second season with Morata scoring the winner?
Yep.
Yeah, 2017. So I think that is obviously a little bit of a mental block for some of these players. But I actually read as well, it's the most drawn fixture in Premier League history. So, I don't think they beat us too much either. It's just a lot of draws. And I think it's going to be a difficult game. But at the end of the day, I feel like if we turn up, I think the most important thing for me tomorrow is how we start. I think we started quite poorly against Brentford. I think, although we had possession, again, it kind of took me back to the late sort of Tuchel days where we wasn't passing the ball quick enough. There was a lack of urgency. Hence why I wanted subs on so quickly in that game. So, we need to start really fast. We need to show the intent. We need to get at them. But we also need to be, a little bit mindful and conservative that Man United really, in possession, they don't really scare me. It's on the counter-attack that they scare me. And I think that's in big games. Man United are very, very good on the counter attack. You look at their front three; they're going to play tomorrow. Martial's not back, which is a good sign, but they've still got Rashford, Sancho, Anthony. It's a very fast front three, so I feel like we'll have a lot of the ball. But we've got to be very mindful of their counter attacks because I think that's their biggest weapon. And
it always has been, no matter who the manager is, Jose, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and now Erik Ten Hag. You always have to just be worried about that countering, really.
Exactly, and I think if Ten Hag's a little bit different. He's going to try and play football tomorrow at Stamford Bridge, but at the end of the day, I think man to man, we can match up to them quite well. I think we've got the quality to beat them. It's just that mental block, and B, it's like don't let them have the counter attack goals. Like just dominate them from minute one. You know what I mean? If we go into that game and we give them confidence at home, like that's not how it should be. We should get at them from minute one and lay our mark on the game, you know what I mean? Like, there's too many times, especially at home. I know we haven't seen much under Graham Potter, but under Tuchel especially, where I felt like, just Stamford Bridge in general over the last few years, I feel like teams come here and, not expect to win, but they feel like they have a chance. And that is reflective on our first 20, 30 minutes. And I think if we can improve the way we start games, then I think already they're going to be on the back foot. And that's exactly what we want tomorrow.
And then obviously capitalize. If we start well but don't score, it doesn't really help. But I do agree. Absolutely. Now, something I do want to discuss, because I know Lewis it's been very vocally critical of him for a little while, not just very recently. To be fair, Pice at times very much so has been as well. I have always openly admitted I like Kai Havertz, but there's clearly a lot of problems happening at the moment. Now, I don't want to jump on the ship where it's like, okay, he's had now one really bad game or a couple of really bad games. I'm like, okay, now let's all, trounce in on him. But the problem is there's been a lack of good enough performances for way too long. Now, some of that can maybe be put down to certain positions that he has to play, whether, for example, away at Villa. Why is he playing the left side, the left 10? Why is that happening? I don't understand why we would ever do that. Or was it even against Brentford as well to start with, until obviously things shifted in the game? I don't get that. But even then, that doesn't explain why you look so slow when you're not slow. That doesn't explain why you can't control a ball when you actually have a good touch. That doesn't explain why you lose too many duels where you don't really seem to have much of a benefit. Because there was times while a lot of people were already critical of him, I was like, yeah, but he does at least this and he does at least that. And I can't lie, it does almost, give me a deja vu of how it started with Timo Werner, just the other way around, where I was like, Timo is shit. And a lot of people were like, nah, he does this at least and he does that at least. And I was like, no. And it's almost like reverse situation with Kai Havertz. I'm like, yeah, but he does this. And at this point, I'm like, what do we need to do? Because, yeah, of course, we can just sit here and say, yeah, sell him in the summer, obviously. But it's October 21st now. We're unlikely to, number one, agree to sell him in January. And number two, will any club that would be interested in him be willing to spend so much money in a January transfer window? So likelihood is we're at least stuck with him until the end of the season. And then we have to see how it goes between now and then. But what do we need to do? And there's been a lot of people talking about this, discussing this in terms of what's his best position, what's his best this, what's his best that. But and I'll start with you actually first, Lewis. I know you're not a fan, and you're going to say, like, just put him on the bench. But is there anything where you're like, well, we need to do something with him, right? Like, we have him until the end of the season. We have injuries in positions. I mean, Sterling isn't exactly playing much better than Havertz is at the moment. So it's like he will have to play games at some point in here and there. But what do we do with it? Like, do we just keep him as this backup striker, or do we try a completely different position? Like, do we try him as a real 10 and at least see how it goes? Or has he played too badly over the last few months to be given that extra chance? Like, what's your perspective on it? Because even though you don't rate him, none of us hate him. Do you know what I mean? Like, he won us to flip in Champions League. We're all grateful. But we need to see more. Like, we paid a lot of money for a guy to be in the beginning of the, a third or, nearly a third.
He was our most expensive transfer at one point. Let's call it what it is, bro. And the Timo Werner thing you said is exactly the reason why I'm not falling for it twice. I was there. I was the guy in Werner's first season saying, but he did this. Like, he's got good work rate. He's got good movement. Now we're doing the same thing. But it's because he scored a Champions League final goal that everyone wants to give the same patience. Fact is, I ask everyone, on the ball, what does he do?
And at the moment, it's not much. There's no one can answer.
And you know what the problem is now? Now he's not even doing the off-the-ball stuff. He's not pressing. He is barely putting any effort into sticking his leg out. He's losing possession easily. His movement is non-existent. That Broja ball in the middle, like, if he had any awareness, he would have got on the end of that. Whenever he gets on the ball, he's poor at 50-50s, literally will dive at the first instant. And referees don't even fall for it. That Brentford one where he went down for no reason, the referee didn't even stop. Just the game kept going. It was like, get up, man. So, like, this is the thing. Where do we play him? We've played him in how many positions since he came to Chelsea? We played him as a 10. We've played him as a false 9. We played him as a 9. We played him as a right winger. We've played him off the left. We've played him deeper. Nothing works. Nothing worked. The fact is, he is a flop, simple as, until he shows regular consistency, which he has failed to show in a Chelsea shirt in the 2 and 3, 4 months or whatever it is he's been here. Until he shows that, he is a flop. He is genuinely one of the worst signings we have made in the 2000s era. He has not lived up to his price tag at all in terms of value for money, in terms of the price tag, in terms of consistency. He is one of our worst signings ever. But people still make excuses.
Because obviously a lot of the price tag,
I give up.
It's true. But even
to
make
anything
it
now.
Arguably worse, right? Listen, because we obviously a lot of the transfer fee was on potential, because that's where a lot of the transfer fee for young players
not even
from.
Potential. It was because Madrid and Bayern couldn't go in for him.
We're 2.5 years in, and is he better at anything than he was when he joined? He got a bit stronger, but other than that, he got a bit stronger.
At least
he looks physically stronger. Maybe he doesn't actually play any
He lost nearly every duel on Wednesday. This is literally the bare minimum of things that you used to be able to praise him with. He can't even do anymore. So now it's like, what is the excuse? There is no excuse. Other than Ziyech, he's our worst forward. Literally our worst forward. I don't want to see him start games anymore. Because every time he plays, he's a hindrance. At the most, he'll give you one little moment. Maybe he'll bag you a goal out of nowhere or something. Or have a nice little passage of play. That's it. That is literally it. Like, people are saying I'm too harsh. He offers you nothing. It's a team game. You can't be carrying passengers. If at the very least, Pulisic, I know he can dribble. And I know he's a bit of a playmaker. Ziyech is a good pass on him. Aubameyang is a finisher. Sterling can dribble, he can create, and he can finish, even if he hasn't been good enough the last few games. Brozia's young talent, but you can see the potential. He can hold up the ball. He's got good turns and dribbling for someone of his size. Havertz has nothing. No redeemable attributes. Nothing where it's like, I know what this guy brings.
Now, see, this is where I slightly disagree, because on form, that's true. But you can't give Ziyech that, because when was the last time we've seen Ziyech make a useful pass? Now, he doesn't get a lot of chances, that is fair. But still, where I still see a little bit of a difference between Timo Werner and Kai Havertz is, well, Timo Werner, you look at him and you're like, well, you just can't play football.
But Werner would press for you.
That's true. Absolutely. But you still can't play football, though.
Like Pai said, we're talking about after the Brentford game. And he's right. Like, Werner right now would be better than Havertz.
And he probably would be, especially with the way the game against Brentford was. But still, though, like, I think most of us at least, are in agreement that while it's not working right now, Kai Havertz is still a better footballer than Timo Werner. So that's why I'm like, I think that
his touch is terrible. He can't finish.
It's true.
Doesn't make any threatening passes
at the moment. But
his positioning is all over the place. Is it better?
Yeah, I don't know. With Timo, it just seems like he just can't do it. With Havertz, it seems like he's not doing it. Do you know what I mean with that difference? Where it's like,
no, the difference is
somewhere else is going to work.
The thing with Havertz is athletically he has nearly everything he needs to succeed, except a bit more strength, and that's why, because he looks more of the part. But that's it. Once you watch him play, he gives you nothing. And that's the frustrating part, because there's so many aspects to him where it's like, you could be a baller.
Yeah.
But he doesn't.
And then you see it like that goal against Newcastle. Clearly he has a touch, but it doesn't always work for him.
Everyone goes back to the Newcastle one.
I'm just saying, you see that it can work, but it just doesn't. It doesn't help either. I completely agree with you.
And this is the thing. Salzburg, Jorginho gave him an easier pass and he scuffed it. AC Milan away, Kovacic gave him a pinger in the second half and his dead touch ruined it. He just ruins everything. Right now, he's been terrible for us, and there's nothing redeemable about him or the way that he's been playing at all.
Unfortunately, even I have to come to a point where probably even I agree with that. Pice, you're maybe not quite as critical as Lewis has been, but still, you've been critical. So, what are your thoughts? Number one, to what Lewis said, but also, like, what do we do with him now going forward? Like, even if we say we sell him in the summer, what do we do with him between now and the summer?
Just don't play him as much. There's certain players that I think would warrant game time over him. I think the times recently that Graham Potter has put on Havertz instead of Broja for even the striker position, it's just a disgrace in my opinion. I think Havertz shouldn't be coming on or even starting ahead of Pulisic. As Lewis said, like, what is his attributes? Like, I just don't get it. Like, the thing is, everyone holds on hope with Havertz is because, like, clearly in there somewhere, like, there's talent. I watch him for Germany. He does, he just does way more smart plays. He's better, awareness around him. He does nice flicks. He finds spaces. He gets chances. For Chelsea, he just doesn't do any of that. The player doesn't come out, and you can't make excuses. Oh, it's Tuchel. Oh, it's this, it's that. Like, he's playing in an attacking system now. We play in an attacking way. We still did under certain times at Tuchel as well. Like, you can't, like, make excuses for him anymore. Like, he has to deliver. It's his third season. I'm not quite at, the point where I absolutely hate him, but I don't really want to see him play much anymore, to be honest with you, because I'm just sick of how lazy he is. Like, the Brentford game was just absolutely appalling. He was playing like he had sandbags on his boots, like the German Lukaku, bro. Like, I couldn't believe it. And Chelsea had the audacity to post recovery mode with him in the pool. Motherfucker should have been out.
Pissed me off differently, bro.
He should have been. He should have been out. He should have been out Cobham doing sprints because he never sprinted in the game once. You know what I mean? And I think the thing is with Havertz is like he's young. You know, he's got talent in there somewhere. So I think Chelsea fans just hold on hope. But again, I say, what is his best position? We've tried him in every single position. When Havertz signed, I got told, you know, by all the people that rated him as this, you know, big generational talent, even a world-class talent. Oh yeah, he can play here. He can play attacking mid. He can play up front. He can play out wide. He can play midfield. He doesn't like with.
Now it looks like he can't play anywhere.
But exactly, like he's not useful for us. Like I wish he would just gain some consistency, but it's been like this for 3 seasons. Okay, first season, whatever. You know, Lampard, you know, he played deep or whatever, adjusting. But the second and this season, like you can't. It's not been good enough, man. And in Europe, I think he's been good in times. You know, obviously in the Champions League, he's been much better than Premier League. But is he a Premier League footballer? I don't know, bro. And that's why I said on my tweet, I think he has to fix up, or we have to sell him in the summer because. Again, another thing that people aren't factoring in is Chelsea are going to have to still make some sales, right? We can't just spend 200, 250 million, 300 million, another 200 million next summer. Like, we need to sell some players, and Havertz could be one of those ones that we cash in on. Again, if Nkunku's joining, where's Havertz playing? You know what I mean? Nkunku, for me, is a replacement for Havertz. You know what I mean? So I don't see these guys, you know, materializing together. When you think we've got Mount, we've got Sterling, we've got, you know, we might buy Rafael Leao. You know what I mean? Like, Havertz for me could already be gone in the owner's eyes. I'm not even joking you.
But let me ask you a question there, Patrick, because if we just don't play him much, right, from now until the summer, do we really think that a club like Bayern Munich or any club that number one Kai would want to go to, and number two could afford the wages that Kai would
Yes,
demand?
I think they'll still try and sign him. Yes, I do, because I think
even if we basically don't play him until the end of the season.
No, but he will play. What I mean is, I don't want to see him. You know, if there's 3 Chelsea games, I want to see him start in one of those. That's it.
But
you know
what
I mean?
position you want him to start in that game then?
Well, to be fair, this is a quite hard conversation because again, it depends on the opponent formation. But again, like you know what I mean? I don't know because I don't want him playing ahead of Broja up front or even ahead of Aubameyang. And then if you play him, like if we say a 3-4-3, on the right-hand side, I'd still rather Mount, even if it's like an inside forward or whatever, if we play that. A 3-4-1-2, I would not really want him playing behind the strikers. I'd still want, you know, the only thing I could say is like maybe with Aubameyang or with Broja, maybe, because then I think maybe he can, with Broja especially, because he like attracts so much defenders. Havertz can then find those pockets of space, but still, at the end of the day, for me, he's not clinical enough. He can't dribble, he can't pass. Like, does he create? No. Like that stat I put out on Twitter, bro. That is disgraceful. 4 big chances in 66 Premier League games.
2 a season, you know. 2 a season.
Alisson and Edison probably have similar in 66 Premier League games.
Bro, Jose Sarr made more big chances than him in the league last season.
It's disgraceful.
And he's a
Lewis is right. Lewis is right. Like, and I know this is a big if, but just take away, like, I know it's hard, but if he didn't have that Champions League goal, right, he would be probably the biggest flop in Chelsea history. I'm not even joking. Like,
literally,
Lukaku still exists, bro.
No.
It's awful. How many goals did Lukaku score last season?
Lukaku outscored him, and he wanted to leave in January.
Do you know? Of course, he outscored him because he's a better striker, right? Havertz is not supposed to be a goal scorer.
Okay, so then how many assists did he get?
Played better with Havertz.
You know what I mean?
He's not an assister either. That's the problem.
So why is he then? Why is he playing in attack?
Why is he playing in attack? Comparison to Thomas Müller earlier. Now, obviously, Thomas Müller over the last few years,
that's disgraceful. Thomas Müller is one of the best creators of the fucking last 10 years.
Turned himself into this absolute assist god.
People say he's like Bergkamp, you know.
But before, Thomas Müller was this guy who didn't have a good position. He wasn't a good striker. He wasn't a good right mid. He wasn't a good 10. And that's what they were talking about in Germany. Where the flip can he actually play?
Because the Bundesliga is a much more open league and you get afforded that sort of space. Which is why he will go to Bayern, because like Simon Phillips already said, they're likely coming in the summer for him. He can go there, stat pad a few Bundesligas, everybody will be happy. We'll make a decent fee off him. He'll be gone.
It's like, can I just say something as well? Like the technique with Havertz, I think he has it, but like even in the Brentford game, right? Tight spaces, he is atrocious. Every time he got in the box, right, it was like, again, he had sandbags on his boots, bro. I've never seen a player turn so slow. And I know he's tall, but like for this talent we paid so much for, like his feet are terrible. They're awful. I can't believe how bad he is with his feet in tight spaces. Like, that's the difference between someone like him and Nkunku. And Nkunku's got that technique and he can dribble out of tight spaces, you know. Havertz can't do any of that. Like, I don't know what to do with him anymore, bro. I just don't. And even if he, you know what I mean? Theoretically, even if he played against Man United, did really well, I don't care because I know in 2 games or, you know, he's going to go on another shit run. Like, he never builds it. Like, can you remember a time where Havertz had like 5 good league games or 3 or 4 good league games in a row? Like, I can't remember that. I can't remember that. Like, that's a huge problem. We paid a lot for this guy. You know what I mean? Like, that's a huge problem.
And that's the problem as well. The lack of the attitudes just got worse. The lack of pressing, shushing the Chelsea fans at West Ham pissed me off like no other.
That
like,
was
you have been
honestly
dog shit
that really
for
annoyed me
2
as well.
years, and you have the nerve to shush the fan. And then the
that
mad
was at
thing
the
is,
Chelsea
he did
fans, not
nothing
at the
for
media
5 games
criticising him?
afterwards.
Well, I don't know why he was looking forward to Chelsea fans when he was doing
shushing the Chelsea fans. He was shushing the fans because of all the criticisms he received, and then he got 0 GNA for 5 games after that. It's an embarrassing mentality.
It is certainly problematic. It's weird. Now, one last thing before we move on from this. The one maybe slight benefit that you can still give him is that he's 23. Now, Mo Salah at 23, where was he? Playing at Fiorentina? Or was it Roma? Do you know what I mean? Like, is that anything to go by? Now, Timo Werner isn't much older, but he's a little older. But there has been a lot of players, obviously, that turned out to be much better at 28 than they were at 23. But does it feel like Havertz will be that? Even to me, it doesn't feel like that. Like I said earlier, he just hasn't really seemed to have improved at anything other than maybe getting a bit more muscly. And even like Lewis said, he's not really making use of that in winning duels anyway. So he's not improved at anything in 2.5 years. So why do I think you're going to improve from now on? But
this is the thing. Do you know how many people I'm seeing in the comment section already? People talking about if we let him go, it's going to be like a De Bruyne or a Salah. I hate this comparison. De Bruyne didn't even start 5 games for Chelsea, and we got rid of him. No buyback clause, no first refusal, not even a loan deal. No, it was a loan deal, and we just let him go afterwards. That's not the same as someone who has had 3 full seasons at Chelsea.
And you can see even with like you can see as well, even with like a De Bruyne or a Salah back then, because I remember Salah at Chelsea, bro, and the one thing, like even the stuff like pace and stuff like that, like it's an attribute at least. I can't name an attribute Havertz has that I'm like, oh, you know, I think that, yeah, if we let that go, he could really develop that and he could get really, really good. Like I don't know that. Like Salah's finishing wasn't great, but he had pace. You know what I mean? De Bruyne, I've seen a comp because I don't really remember him at Chelsea, but I've seen a comp of his game. I think the home game he played.
One.
Bro, some of his passing back then still, you could see the passing
in like
bro.
8 minutes.
You could see the passing, you could see the vision, like you could see how smart he was. There's nothing right now, and even the last few months, whatever, however long, I can't remember anything an attribute Havertz has where I'm like, oh, okay, you know, like maybe in a year or 2 he could be really good for us in that area or that, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing. I can't tell you anything. Like, please enlighten me. Apart from the odd goal he scores, I'm like, okay, that was a sick goal. Don't most players do that though? Like, doesn't Ziyech do that? Doesn't Pulisic do that every once in a while? Think, okay, oh, that's a sick goal. That's a sick assist. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
That's the problem. That's the problem, and that's why I've always said. I mean, I know we have tried it on like 2 or 3 occasions on the Frank Lampard. I still think we should see what he can do if he's an 8. Because I just don't think he, like you touched on earlier, I just don't think we don't know what the reason exactly is, but he just can't handle it in the tight spaces. Now, where's the space the tightest? The closer you get to the opposition goal. So what does that tell me? Take him further away from the opposition goal because he can't obviously
awareness.
Obviously, absolutely. That's why, like, it could only be an attacking 8, and we don't play that. So it's basically a non-option. But I'm just saying, if that was an option, I think he could do better there because, well, he has got long legs. He's reasonably quick. If he's just, once he goes, as you saw on that one occasion against Villa, you don't just run him over. But the problem is playing a striker. You never see him run with the ball because why can he run with the ball? He's already there where all the oppositions are. But even then, I'm like, yeah, okay, you could maybe be a bit better as an 8 than he is as a 9. But would he be much better? I don't know. Let me quickly highlight this or talk about the super chat by Lightbulb. I mean, it's directed at you, Lewis, anyway. But apparently, Jem is now tied up with Johnny and backing and bigging up Kai. Jem, what are you doing? Come on now. What is this, Jem? Yeah, look, I really like Jem.
Hey, it is what it is. Jem and Johnny, we've gone back and forth so many times. It's like we're just going to agree to disagree. But
their answers are he's generational. He's scored a Champions League final goal. Give him time. There's no football talk about him. There's no here's his attributes. There's no this is the formation. This is the position I think he should play in. And even if you name me a lineup in 2 years for Chelsea, 2 seasons. Even if you include Havertz, tell me why. Tell me who you would buy around him. Because if you want to keep him, you want to keep him for a reason, right? Even if he's not playing right now, you'd keep him for the future. So he's like 25, 26, 27. Okay, but why should we keep him? Why should we keep him on this high wage? Why should we not sell him and get someone else? You know what I mean? Like, why should we have this patience?
That he is on
Joel, what it is, everyone puts so much stock in Havertz in 2020. They don't want to admit that they just listen to the hype. I did the same thing as well. It's fine, but he's crap.
But I don't think it was purely hype. I
He's
think
crap.
Kai Havertz did things in the Bundesliga for Leverkusen where it was totally fair to be excited by that. The problem is he hasn't been able to do that here for whatever the reasons may be.
Excited, but like there was a lot of waffle. Like we're talking about him being able to play 6 different positions and all that crap. Like no.
Yeah, and should he play the 6 different positions? No, because then we will get back to the point. Well, you need to play him in his favorite position. Do you know what I mean? The whole thing with attributes, I think, is a bit difficult because Havertz is clearly an all-rounder. So he's a jack of all trades, but not great at anything.
Master of none.
Yeah, exactly.
He ain't even a jack of all trades.
Yeah, but
that would imply you're good at all
reasonably tall,
trades.
so he scores you a header sometimes. He's reasonably quick, so he can run after a ball. Do you know what I mean?
Bro,
that's what I'm trying to
Morata
say with that. So
scored
he's not
us.
amazing in the air. He's not
Morata
amazing
and
in the dribbling.
Havertz are the
He
same
just has a bit
thing.
of both.
They're the same thing.
No, it's true. It's true. I'm not disagreeing with it, if I'm honest. As much as I would love to, I can't anymore.
Oh yeah, we
All
all
right.
wish he'd be good, but it is what it is.
There you go. Let's get to talking about the other club who we're facing, because even though they're actually getting good results recently, at least their last game against Spurs is obviously a good result, it was all kind of overshadowed by a certain Mr. Ronaldo thinking he's bigger than anybody else and just walking off the pitch after now confirmed by the manager refusing to be subbed on, which mental, by the way. And one other thing I'll say, by the way, there was a lot of people this summer that called me an idiot, crazy, stupid, all sorts of things for saying I don't want Cristiano Ronaldo. He's doing this at Manchester United. He loves Manchester United, or at least used to love Manchester United. I don't know if he still loves them, but he used to at least love them. Imagine the kind of shit that guy would pull off if he was at Chelsea. Nah, I want to stay so far away from it. I'd rather move country. Do you know what I mean? Like, stay away from Ronaldo. You don't want nothing to do with it. Now, I've had some people come to me on Twitter and say, but he lost his child. And I'm like, okay, yes, that is awful. That had to happen to him, and that is horrible. But what has that got to do with walking off and refusing to be subbed on?
Exactly.
Because when he starts, he doesn't complain. So
that's the weirdest point I've ever heard in my life.
Right? It's just a bit strange. But hey, it was made to me, so I thought I'd react to it quickly. But the big question is, now I'll ask you boys' thoughts on what Ronaldo did as well. But the question now is, after Erik Ten Hag has now exed him from the squad for however long we don't know, but most certainly will not be involved against Chelsea. And the question for me is that a benefit or a negative for us? Because on the one hand, if he played, it would be a benefit for us because they're worse with him, in my opinion. But this whole drama of him now not being in the squad, I'm thinking maybe that could actually be a positive for us because obviously that will be the big talk, right? And maybe that will slightly distract the Man United squad. Or do you think they will use it as extra motivation? Okay, now we need to turn up without Ronaldo being here. So, Pice, I'll start with you on this one. How do you, number one, your reaction to what he did, and then how United obviously, cut him from the squad and stuff. But do you think it could be a good thing for us? Do you see it's a bad thing? Or do you just think it doesn't really matter? Because he would have been on the bench anyway. Now he's just not on the bench. Okay, who cares?
Yeah, I think from what I've been reading as well, from the Man United sources, the news pages out there, that I think a lot of their players are kind of divided over the issue. And I think a lot of them just are expecting what he does now, because I think I read obviously Ten Hag said as well he left early for a Europa League game or something when he didn't come on.
Wasn't it a pre-season game? But it could have been a Europa League.
I don't know when it was, but I was reading basically the players aren't surprised. So to your second question, I don't really think it will matter. I think it's probably more of a negative to us, as you said. I think they play worse with him. There was stats. I saw stats when they play with him, their record is 5 times worse. than when they play without him. But yeah, I think what he did, I mean, you know, I've been there. I think we've all been there when we play football, when we're on the bench. You know, we want to fucking come on. And, you know, especially in a big game, you warm up as well for like 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. You just get ignored and you don't come on. That's extremely annoying.
But apparently he was asked to come on and he just walked off instead.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened with that. Maybe it was the timing. Maybe he got asked to come on at like 86 minutes. He was like, no, sort of thing. Like, what's the point? It's kind of embarrassing to my career, sort of thing, you know. Give me like petty minutes. Like, I could see him thinking that way, but at the same time, like, he's he's a professional. And you've just got to get on with it. Like, your team's winning, you know.
Praised for this great professional that he is. I'm like,
but he's been like this for years, bro. Even at Real Madrid, search up clips on YouTube of people nicking his goals or someone, you know, scoring instead of him. He's just an absolute like ego freak. That's what he is.
Yeah. It's just all about him.
You know, in the summer, I was kind of on the edge, sort of. I was on the fence. I didn't really know. Like, I understood the cons, but also at the same time, it's Ronaldo. But, you know, just even speaking to some, you know, Man United accounts and stuff, they can't, like, stress enough how washed he is when he does play as well. He's terrible, apparently. Like, he's genuinely awful. And I've watched him a couple of Europa League games where he can't even, like, turn up, you know, in the Europa League games. He doesn't look like Ronaldo. He just looks like an average player.
You know what? I will even let him off a little bit for that, because if you've spent 20 years basically playing every single game your club is ever involved in, you probably do struggle a little bit with it once you all of a sudden play one every 3 or 4 games, because you're so not used to that whole habit that maybe that makes it more difficult than for someone that's used to that, if that makes sense. But still, I like I say, obviously, because I want us to beat Man United tomorrow, I hope that even him not being there, but him still being the talk of the media and everything, that can be some sort of distraction that can help us. But I'm not sure if it will be. Lewis, number one, what are your thoughts on what Ronaldo did pull off? And then also, do you think it will have any effect? And if so, a positive or negative effect, that the fact that he has now been exed from the squad?
I don't know if it'll have a negative effect, especially just reading. I was taking a look at some of the stuff Erik Ten Hag was talking about in his press conference. It's definitely going to be used as motivation. Like, they're going to use, like, Ronaldo thinks he's bigger than you guys. He wants to try and take attention. Are you going to let it happen? Stuff like that. I could easily see him use it as motivation. So I don't think it'll have a negative effect. The stuff from Ronaldo, it's not as surprising now it's happened, because we all knew he had an ego like that. Just didn't expect to see it on that sort of occasion. Like, one of the biggest performances United's had in Old Trafford in years, from what I've heard. And then Ronaldo makes it all about himself. It's understandable, but it's like, really? Are you going to do it now? And I saw in the comment section, they're asking me if I'm still on the Ronaldo train. As soon as Aubameyang joined, I jumped off. All I needed was a goal scorer. Like, we don't need Ronaldo on the bench here. We already know that's not going to work. So, yeah, I'm off that stuff. But yeah, I don't think it's going to have a negative impact on United. Like, the thing that would worry me the most if I was a United fan was rotation, because they're probably going to play a very similar 11. We've been able to rotate because we've got a stronger squad, and that would probably play into our hands a bit more than this Ronaldo situation. I think it has a much more positive effect on them.
Fair dues. It's the whole Ronaldo thing, like, to make it even, like, obviously Old Trafford is a stadium where the tunnel is not between the dugouts. The tunnel is by the corner flag. So that whole, like, to have that ego to, like, you know how awkward you must feel when you then decide, okay, I don't know what minute it was exactly when he walked off, but still, so there's, say, 10 minutes still to go. And then you walk the entire length of the entire half length of the pitch. Everyone sees you walking off down the tunnel. You know, like a Stamford Bridge, if you just... And
it's Ronaldo as well, so they're all going to notice him. Exactly. Ronaldo, can you sign my shirt? All this stuff.
Exactly. How funny would it have been had he stopped and signed things for everyone at 10 walks off?
That would have looked a lot better. I'm going to be real. That would have looked a lot better.
It's true. Nagelsmann, the Bayern manager, he was quite funny. In his press conference, he was like, yeah, I don't really know. Maybe it was cold and just needed a shower. Who knows?
That's good PR.
Right. There you go. Two things that we should probably touch on. Graham Potter in the press conference today. Now, in terms of injury news, said basically same injury news as we had for Brentford. Conor Gallagher had this stomach thing. I still do not understand, by the way, why he started. Because Graham Potter said post-game that this was the case from the start of the game. So I'm like, so why did he start then? I don't understand. But anyway,
I won't criticize people playing with tummy aches personally. So
we got Christensen down on here, bro. You see all my mentions, bro. All my mentions was Christensen, Bitchinson's back, but
no way. Oh, I'm so not.
But to be fair, Christensen never had himself subbed off 15 minutes into a game, so or at least not.
Bro, you got to respect Christensen for the Champions League final. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, he won us the Champions League. Isn't it?
So why are you not respecting Kai for that then?
That's the joke.
I know. I'm joking.
Oh, okay.
But what was I saying? Oh yeah. So yeah, basically same injury news. Conor Gallagher probably will be available. Whether he'll start, I assume not, but we'll see about that. Now he did give a little bit of an update on Reece James's recovery. I suppose it wasn't much of an update. We basically knew all of it already, but obviously the media tried to make a big thing out of it again. So here's a little picture because he was spotted today wearing this huge knee brace, which, by the way, the knee brace that I wanted him to be wearing in Milan already. But hey, is what it is. Yeah, he will be in this for 4 weeks. Well, 4 weeks in total. He's already been in it for like a week or whatever. And then he will have rehab, and in total, he thinks it will take 8 weeks. Now, Graham Potter didn't actually say it like that. He said, yeah, and then he will do rehab, which will probably take about 8 weeks. So potentially making it sound like, oh, could it be 12 weeks in total? But no, I'm pretty confident he's talking about 8 weeks in total. I only saw like his own, like Reece's, whatever he posted on Twitter, like they now released the vlog. I haven't seen it yet, but
my right back's vlogging.
It's only like 50 seconds. It's like a YouTube Shorts. It's like 50 seconds.
All I need them to do is vlog a game and know you're dark and chat to me. I just need that.
Exactly. Just do a Ben Foster. Do you know what I mean? Just imagine Reece James turns up in like a Champions League final, just has a GoPro strapped around his chest or something.
Imagine.
But yeah, I mean, there's not much more to add. He's wearing this brace. There you can see it. 4 weeks of that. Lewis, I'll ask you something. Obviously, you are English. I know you don't really care about the national team, though, but still, you are English. Would you prefer him to just sit out the World Cup, or do you understand his own personal drive to really want to be involved? That you're like, okay, let him, like, take him, even if he can only play from like the quarters onwards, potentially?
It's both. Like, I completely get Reece James wanting to try and rush back. This is first ever World Cup, I get it, but it's speculative because if this is an 8 weeks and he should be okay, but his knee's not going to be at 100%, I don't want him going at all because I think he could really fuck up his long-term future if he does something like that. I think Titi did the same thing before the 2018 World Cup and he fell off a cliff afterwards. I don't want to see that happen to Reece James. Now, if he actually is just 8 weeks and he'll be back to 100% and there's no worries, fine. I haven't got any issue. I'd only want him to rest because I'm selfish and I'm thinking from a club perspective. But the only thing that's worrying me is like, is it 8 weeks and they're rushing him back, or is it 8 weeks and he's actually fit? And I
think it's 8 weeks and then he has to train for match fitness. So it's like, after 8 weeks, probably his body will be ready to play, but then he's not match fit. So that's why I'm like, is there any point him going to the World Cup? Surely it would be better for him and everyone involved. Just let him in that last 2 weeks. Then
you can forget the World Cup. Chelsea are not going to let him go. It's literally not happening.
Will Chelsea have a say though?
100%. We're the club. We're the club at the end of the day. If they let him go to the World Cup, disgrace, absolute disgrace.
Yeah, but obviously the club don't want to like end up on bad terms with Reece either. Now, obviously Reece has just signed a new contract, so at least it can't happen.
I don't care
because if Reece asks, but I really want to go, then Chelsea aren't going to say no to him.
Take the medical advice. Get the doctors involved.
I agree with you completely.
If the doctor says no, then
the doctors are just going to go, oh, yeah, mate, your knee's a little bit fucked, but we understand your desire. You can go and try it. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to do that.
I don't know, man. So many players have risked their careers with injuries at World Cups, unfortunately.
If he's not going to be guaranteed taking a medal, I wouldn't risk it. Because England,
I wouldn't risk either. Absolutely, I wouldn't risk it either. There you go. Not really that much more to add. I still hope that he doesn't play at the World Cup, if I'm honest, and then it's just fit after that. But hey, at the end of the day, to some extent, it's also down to him. So what can I do? Now, one other little piece of news that maybe I was like, okay, let's touch on it quickly. We Are The Shed came out with this. Lots of talk about a singing section today. Here are a few points to reiterate from us. Already in talks with the club. Several hurdles to overcome, but the new owners are far more open. Update on the trail within few weeks. Not sure exactly what he means by trail. Does he mean trail of
trial? Probably, maybe
trial or maybe trail.
I was thinking like trail as in like a trail to getting it done. Maybe.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Either
it will be done to enhance support, not mimic other clubs. Lewis, I'll go with you first. I mean, to be fair, prices are pretty much every home game in the Matthew Harding all the same. But what's your thoughts on this? Singing section at the club, would you be in favour of that?
Oh, yeah. Like, I will never give the Ashburton Army any sort of praise, but apparently the atmosphere at the Emirates has got better over the last year, so it does work. And, I mean, we've complained enough about Stamford Bridge being a library at times. Like, if there is a certain section with an emphasis on trying to force chants and force an atmosphere and keep chants going, it can only work to the club's benefit. Like, I don't think it'll be in Matthew Harding. They'll probably do what they always do and sit next to the away fans, so it'll be in the shed. But I don't know, like Matthew Harding is correct me if I'm wrong, that's usually where most of the atmosphere is. I never really hear too much from the shed, but I don't want to shit on them either. They might be a lot louder.
Because they're obviously 100 yards away, so sometimes maybe you
just don't hear them. I don't want to act like I don't know, but it will get better. Fact is, it will get better if we have a singing section, so I'm all for it.
There you go. That's basically my thoughts as well. Obviously, I'm from Europe. I'm more used to this European style fan where it's like, they have the megaphones and there's one guy like the capo who basically like, okay, let's sing this song, and then you start the chant, which I never understand, but that's not a thing in English culture. Obviously I'm not English, so maybe there's explanations for it that I'm just not aware of. I know Palace do it, obviously. I'm not sure if Arsenal have that as well, but surely, because the problem I see when I go to Stamford Bridge, I'm like, okay, you see 10 people on the one end of Matthew Harding start the chant. Then you see another 10 people in the middle of Matthew Harding start a chant. Then you see another 10 on the other side of Matthew Harding start a chant. And then you have 3 chants at the same time, about 20 people singing all of them. And then, obviously there's not going to be any noise. But if you have someone that controls it and everyone looks for that guy and see, okay, what are we singing now? And then everyone sings the same song, it will always be loud. So it's such an easy fix to me. But I've never been too vocal about this because I'm like, well, maybe there's some sort of reason in English culture why they don't do this that I'm just not aware of. But I'm like, just give someone a megaphone. Everyone agree that he decides to chant, and then you're going to have chanting all 90 minutes, and it's going to be easily fixed. But Pice, what's your thoughts on it? What's your thoughts as well that now that this seems to be more likely because we have new owners? Not necessarily what I did kind of expect it, because obviously Americans, they want to do everything about the atmosphere, or they want to do the most for atmosphere that they can. But I will never understand why Roman and the previous ownership was against that. Like, why would you not want to try to improve the atmosphere? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult one for me. I want to know, there's not a lot of details about this, but I want to know, sort of how many people it will be, where it will be, that sort of thing. But I do, have my own, point of view. And to be fair, I think the atmosphere is really, really bad unless it's a big game. There's been times where, I've just go to a random Premier League game, for example, I don't know, Chelsea, I don't know, trying to think of it, Southampton or something. It'll be shocking. It'll be shocking. Matthew Harding will be okay, but it's still, not great. And then the big games, I think Matthew Harding is unbelievable. Tomorrow it will be absolutely bouncing. But then the rest of the stands are really, really bad. The shed and the shed west and east are terrible. They're family stands. I remember when I sat in there once for one of the Champions League games, and my brother got up and swore, and there was 7 people immediately said, "Sit down. This is a family stand. Don't swear." This sort of thing. People reading newspapers before the games, that type of shit. You know what I mean? The proper, yeah, it's terrible. And the shed is really, really downhill as well for me. I never really hear too much singing. The only times really when the shed are really loud is actually when the Matthew Harding say can you give us a song, and then they reply back, and then it all kind of does in unison. But
it's always carefree.
Yeah, it's always the same. But to me, I don't care about the chants. I just want the noise. Yeah, I just think the Matthew Harding really is the only stand that kind of gets up for it. Especially because in the Matthew Harding, in the upper, you always have 1 or 2 guys where they'll smash the boards, they're really loud, and they'll start a chant, and it kind of goes on. But apart from that, it's really, really bad. I think everyone knows this who's been to games. It's not good.
Exactly. So if they can figure out a way to make that better, Ideal in my books. Ideal. Now, Pice, is there any other bit of news that we should discuss? I don't think so. There's not really been crazy amount of news the last couple of days in terms of stuff that we haven't already just spoke about.
Yeah, nothing really. To be fair, I think the only other thing, just on like the Super League, I think Bedad Egbali was talking about like no one else apart from Spanish clubs any appetite for it, and he was kind of like backing Bowley's idea for like the All-Star games, and he said we need more premium content in pre-season games or something. That was the only thing I'd kind of tweeted out last couple of days.
There you go. There you go. I mean, what I still want, you don't even need to actually play a game of football against each other. Just bring some footballers and do like a footballer Olympics. I want to see who's the fastest fucking footballer. I want to see who's the second fastest fucking footballer. Do it with like one, instead of hurdles, do it with a ball at their feet. You know what I mean? And
Adama Traore. There's your answer.
Well, see, I reckon Mbappe could challenge it, but who knows, man? Because especially if you're doing 100 yards, Haaland has such big legs. Maybe he's even involved. I don't know, but that would be interesting to see. Much more interesting than anything.
That would be fun, but then the clubs will be like, well, the injury concerns. You might pull a muscle.
But they do sprints in training anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's for me, it's all scrap, but hey, here we are. We have another super chat by Libo. Appreciate it, saying, don't give Kai too much stick, please. He's perhaps still suffering from the COVID he got 2 years back. Fuck's sake. But maybe he is, man. Maybe he is. Who knows? All right, Lewis, something you might not be aware of, but what we do these days on this channel, I have a wonderful friend Bertram prepare a little quiz for us ahead of whichever game we're playing. So now we have a somewhat Chelsea United team quiz to go through. I haven't seen the answers, the questions and answers either. So I will read them out, but we will all try to answer and get involved in this. Sometimes the questions are better than other times. Sometimes Bertram is on fraud watch, but benefit of the doubt, maybe it will work out today. Ladies and gentlemen in the chat, exactly. Big up Bertram. Ladies and gentlemen in the chat, please do get involved with the answering, and subscribe if you haven't already, and smash the like button. Please also do subscribe to Lewis's channel if you haven't already. All right, Chelsea versus Manchester United, as Bertram says, like and subscribe. All right then. In this quiz, we'll be looking back at some of the most memorable fixtures between the two clubs. Our last win against the Devils came back in 17-18 with Morata sealing the win. But who assisted him? I think we all know that one. But
easy.
Yeah.
That's true. We all knew that.
Well, I think we all.
3 point. That one was too easy.
Aspie assisted him with a lovely assist, as he did many times before that season. The pair became the most dangerous link in the Premier League that season, which is still weird because Aspie wasn't playing right back or right wing back. Aspie was playing right centre back, and this was happening. Still don't really understand how we got to that, but hey, all right. Quizmaster Bertram's favourite showing against the Devils came during our title-winning season in 16-17, which of the following statements are untrue surrounding the game? Number one, N'Golo Kante scored a first Chelsea goal, sorry. Jose Mourinho, first away Premier League game at Stamford Bridge. Pedro scored after 30 seconds, and John Terry started the game. One of the following statements is untrue. Lewis, why don't I go with you first? Do you know?
Yeah, JT, he didn't start.
Yep. Pies, do you agree?
Say the same. Yeah.
Because we know he basically started none of the games that season. So
nah.
There you go. So it probably is that. John Terry did unfortunately not start this game as we thrashed him 4-0. What a day it was, though, by the way. And that after 30 seconds, that's the type of thing I want to see tomorrow. Sorry. Honestly, what a day would be if we could beat them like that again. Jose's first Premier League game at the Bridge was a successful one, running out 1-0 winners against the Red Devils, who burst the only hole in United's defence. So we're talking 2004 here. All right. Ajaga Johnson, Didier Drogba, William Gallas, or Wayne Ridge. Now, realistically, the only one that has a chance of knowing this answer is Lewis. So, Pice, I'll go with you first, unless you happen to have watched it back since. But do you know?
Bro, I was 3 years old. I have no idea.
Fair dues. Lewis, do you know, or would you have to guess as well?
Yeah, Ajaga Johnson still. I got the season review.
There you go. Fair play. Now you told us the answer already anyway. I will try.
Oh, wait, am I not meant to say it? What am I meant to say?
No, absolutely. Oh. But obviously, sometimes you know for sure, and sometimes you maybe don't know for sure. But now you seem so sure. Obviously, I'm like, well, probably true then.
Oh, okay. I guess my delivery. All right, cool.
Yeah. No, it's all good. It's all good. Do as you like. But I probably would have guessed Johnson because I know Drogba didn't score that many his first season, so I wouldn't have gone for that. And then how often did Gallas and Bridge score? So, I think the most likely guess would have been Edgar Johnson. But here we go. I'm a big fan of how detailed he was with using the right Ds, the Icelandic Ds here. But fair enough.
Yeah, actually. Yeah.
There you go. I don't even know where you'd find that. But, fair play. Scored Mourinho's maiden goal for the Blues. The rest, as they say, is history. Oh, what a time. I miss Jose Mourinho, honestly. All right. The 2007-2008 season, unfortunately, ended with the Red Devils lifting the title. But for a brief moment, we were back in the title race after winning 2-1 at home. Which player famously scored 2 goals that day in April 2008? Bro, Bertram, you're asking difficult questions.
Is he Belgian, by the way? Because I'm noticing he's got the Belgian colours every time it says Devils.
I think he's just trying to use... Yeah, I don't know if he's using the Belgian Devils. No, he's Danish, but... I don't know why he's using the Belgian Devils colours, but
because they have the same name, Red Devils.
Yeah, they do absolutely. So I don't, because United don't really use the yellow colour for anything other than obviously their badge, as you can see. But I don't know. But why don't I try to take a stab at this? So obviously in 2006, Joe Cole scored when we beat them 3-0, but that was number 1 on the last day of the season, and number 2 not in 2008. But who would have scored then? Did Ballack ever score 2 goals against United? Could be in that season. Very much could be. I don't think it's Joe Cole, but I could be wrong. Just because of how Chelsea games usually go, I will say Frank Lampard, but I'm purely guessing. I have no idea. Pies, do you know?
I'm pretty sure Ballack scored a header. And so I'm going to say him.
Okay.
And he took his shirt off, I think.
I do know, so I don't know if you want me to say or not.
No. Yeah. Say it. Go on.
Yeah, it is Ballack.
Okay.
I think I've seen this highlights.
Yeah.
Yeah, Premier League years.
It's a long time ago, man. It's a long time ago. I don't know, really. Like, I had a memory as well of Ballack against United, but I feel like I thought I would know if he scored 2, and I didn't, so I assumed it's not Ballack.
Because the other one was a pen, so I don't really stick out.
Okay. But why did he take the pen that day? Do you know?
I don't know. I remember Drogba and Ballack were bickering the whole second half over set pieces, but I don't remember why. Maybe Lampard came up. Lampard's mum passed away the week before, didn't she? So the whole game was in tribute to Michael
against Liverpool, though, in the Champions League, right?
Yeah, the game after that.
Okay. It's a weird one. Also, by the way, this shirt, what are we doing? We're putting the badge on the side, but the Adidas logo in the middle. It looks like it's one-sided. What are we doing? Like, not all
that
Adidas
one was a dodgy kit. The badge is in a weird position, but
yeah, the badge and then, like I say, the Adidas thing in the middle is very strange. But anyway, let's move on. Which of the following shirts did Drogba score the inaugural Wembley goal in? Oh, okay. Number 1, number 2, or number 3? Everyone can hopefully see them. All right, let me take a little think about this. So was that the goal when we won the double under Ancelotti?
Nah, double under Mourinho. No, domestic double.
So it's Jose's 3rd season. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Which would then make it
number 1, isn't it?
I would assume the first one, yeah. I would assume.
Yeah.
I think
probably
it's number 1.
All right. All went for the same. There you go. Got it correct. I feel like Lewis just knows these things, and me and Pies have to guess.
I'm letting you guys run in.
It's all good. Right? We'll keep your answer for last, and at least then we know whether we were right or not. Do you know what I mean? It was good. Final question. Golden goal scorer. So when was this game? All right, but at some point, apparently, we beat Manchester United by 2-1 at Old Trafford. Federico Macheda scored, and Didier Drogba scored. But who scored the other goal? And you can see him here. He's kind of, well, I was going to say blacked out, but whited out, I suppose. But I don't know. Okay, I have to go by the shirt to judge the season. That would tell me it's Ancelotti's season.
It's 2010, I think.
The kit is Ancelotti's.
Oh, but that guy's small. I'm trying to think who that is. Maybe like
what
Ashley
he looks
Cole?
like? He looks like Sean Wright-Phillips.
Yeah, no, he didn't play for us then, did he? I think he was.
No, he went back to City.
Yeah.
He went back to City.
He wasn't there anymore at the time, but he still looks like him. Could it be Ashley Cole?
feel like he's a different build to Ashley Cole.
Yeah, I do agree.
I don't know who that is. It's some it's either a defender or like
Could it be like Deco?
could be.
I mean, Lewis,
that's
don't
a
tell us the
shot.
answer, but do you know, or do you also have to guess on this?
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm just not saying nothing.
My guy's got memories for days, honestly.
I watch too much football, bruv. I watch too much football.
I've definitely seen this game. I just, can't remember it. I don't know. Could it be like someone like, I don't know, Belletti or something? Unfortunately, I have no memory of jumping out at me. I'm only judging really by the picture, and that's making it very difficult. Deco potentially. Who do we have in the front line that could potentially have been this? I can't think of anyone that we had in it because our front line at the time was Drogba and Elka, and who else? Who was in Lewis? Who was the other person in the front line with Drogba? And
you had Drogba, Anelka, Malouda, Cole, Kalu. You had Sturridge. Sturridge came in that season.
That early.
Matic was a cam back then. That was weird. But, yeah, he was a cam.
Matic was a cam.
Havertz advanced match.
Well, it's not Matic. I know that. Matic.
He might be a DM after all.
Yeah, maybe. You know what? I don't know. I'm gonna say Deco, but I have no idea. Pi, so you're gonna guess anyone?
I'm gonna say Cole, but I feel like he's a different build to Cole. Yeah, he's like too wide almost for Cole.
Well, which Cole? Ashley Cole.
Yeah.
Okay. Lewis, tell us the answer.
It was Joe Cole.
Is it?
You're close.
Bro, what? I thought Joe Cole was taller than that. Nah,
Joe Cole
was small. He was
Is it just because Mikel's huge?
Yeah, to be fair,
I just didn't think Joe Cole played that regularly anymore in that Ancelotti season. That's why I didn't go for him.
Yeah, he was mostly on the bench that time.
That's what I was thinking. So I was like, okay, because the goal came early, because the Drogba goal came later at 79th. I was like, we're talking starters. So who started? But hey, here we are. Thanks for playing, like, and subscribe, as Bertram says, for the third time. But thank you, Bertram. We appreciate you as always. All right, then, boys. Shall we get into... Yeah, Lewis was well and truly on fire. My guy just knew everything. Fair play. Now, see, we rate it. We rate it, bro. All right. Let's talk about tomorrow's game from our perspective a little bit more, because we are in a little bit of trouble with, well, certain positions, just we have too many injuries. And I'll start with the first question, and I'll start with you, Lewis. Shall we play a back three or shall we play a back four?
I'm not too sure. I'm really not sure. I think personally it would be better off for us to play a four, because I think the midfield is a big worry for me, and I'm not too sure if we would perform well if we play in a pivot. And doing that, I think we also force Ruben into another 90-minute shift on the right, where I want to kind of preserve at least one of him or Kovacic. So I'd rather go for a back four personally.
That's interesting. I don't hate the shout in general. I'm only, what we spoke about earlier in terms of their counter-attacking. I feel like, and in a three, it's easier to defend counter-attacks than it is in a four, because you just have three players staying back rather than only two. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure. Pice, do you agree with Lewis, or would you rather see a back three?
I think for this game, three at the back.
Unfortunately, Lewis, it has to be obviously just by which gets more votes, I guess. I'll probably also pick the back three, if I'm honest. But I do 100% see what you're saying, because I also have to struggle. But the problem is, I don't think Aspie's any better at right back. So I'm like...
no, it's not even about who's better. It's just fitness. I think the biggest thing over the next few weeks is preserving players as much as we can. We're one injury away in midfield from a car crash.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, we always have Zakaria, but...
Oh, yeah. Forgot about him.
Yeah, as did everyone else, including our manager, man. All right, let's start in goal then. I feel like at this point it's not really become a question anymore. But stick with Kepa, Lewis?
Oh, yeah. 100%. Kepa's done more than enough the last two games.
Absolutely. I'll ask you this because I haven't asked you this before. Do you see a point where you would just throw Mendy back in, or does that point only come if Kepa starts making mistakes? And because if Kepa plays well, say until the World Cup, and then he has like a game after and has one bad game. Is one bad game enough to drop him again? Or does he need to have like 2 or 3 bad games to get dropped?
Yeah, no. One bad game. I think if you bench him after that, you send completely the wrong message to the dressing room and to Kepa himself, because he's done a lot to pull himself back into this position. So I think for me, if he was to have a string of bad games where we consistently drop points because of him, then fair enough. But now he needs to have the same protection that we would have given Edouard Mendy. Because I get Mendy hasn't reached the same ceiling that Mendy's reached, but Mendy's also fallen off a cliff, so he's on the same level. So to me, like, even if he made a mistake, I'm not benching him next match.
Fast price for tomorrow. Stick with Kepa.
Yeah. Although I'm scared of Rashford and Bruno and Eriksen's long shots, to be honest. I still think no one's tested his biggest weakness yet.
Definitely.
It's absolutely true. Do you agree with Lewis, Price, in the sense that one bad game shouldn't then be enough to bench him because of what kind of message that sends? It needs to be at least 2 or 3 bad games before you drop him. Or do you think one bad game and he's out?
Well, me, I still prefer Mendy, but I think I think his logic probably got to be right. I think Mendy will probably play that Carabao Cup game.
City, yeah.
But I said this yesterday on Charlie's stream. What I think is going to happen is Kepa's going to make a mistake at some point, and there's going to be a game where inevitably we do lose. And I think Graham Potter's going to then use that opportunity to bring Mendy in, and then I think Mendy's going to play so well that we'll never see Kepa again. That's what I think is going to happen.
Could well be. I do agree with Lewis, though, to some extent, that if to drop him after one bad game would be harsh. Just because, like, well, how many bad games did Mendy get before he was dropped? He was never dropped.
If Potter's telling the truth, then Mendy's still like he's still saying, we've got 2 great number ones. He's not saying someone's a number 2 yet. So,
yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to bring Mendy back in at some point, but again, it's difficult because Kepa's playing so well, and obviously, even I've said I think he might suit Graham Potter's just football a little bit more. I think you've seen it the last few weeks, like his anticipation coming out of the box, just him on the ball in general has been much better than Mendy. It's just obviously, how long can Kepa keep this up for? I've been through this with Kepa before. I've been through patches where he's been really good, and then 1 or 2 bad games, and he's like, shit, it's like for me, I don't know about you guys. I just find it crazy with how good Mendy was. He's like a number 2 now for us. I think that's mental, but fair play to Kepa at the moment.
Yeah, it is a difficult one, and because obviously things could change for Kepa theoretically with him now playing regularly and stuff. Maybe he does actually get called up to the World Cup, but if he doesn't go to the World Cup. Now, obviously, he's a goalkeeper, so it has less effect than for outfield players. But even then, Mendy will be at the World Cup. Obviously, we'll have to see how far Senegal get. But still, it's going to be interesting because maybe with that, even Kepa will even have that benefit. So remain like the main goalie after the World Cup. Who knows? But all right, let's get to the defense. And I'll say one thing very gladly. Thiago Silva got his rest, so I can thankfully start him again. I think we're all going to be in agreement that he should start if we're doing this back 3 as the central centre back. I think we're probably all in agreement that Koulibaly should play left-sided centre-back. Quickly, Lewis, can I ask you, what have you made of Koulibaly so far? Obviously, he had that one really bad moment against Brentford the other day. But in general, other than being a bit rash and getting a few too many silly yellow cards, what have you made of it?
I think Koulibaly gets really harshly treated by a lot of rival fans, but I understand it. Like, if it's rival fans, I'm not going to expect them to baby our own signings, but I think my only issue with Koulibaly is that he never starts a game well, or he's always sloppy the first 10, 15 minutes. But after that, very little mistakes. Like, he's not great on the turn if we're going to really nitpick and everything like that. But as a defender, I think he's solid. I think he's been a great addition to the squad. His only real bad match was the Leeds game. And with the defense in general, I think they're going to be a lot better by the end of the season when they have an understanding of each other. So I can give Koulibaly patience. I know he's going to be a much better centre-back by the end of the season. And I don't even think he's been that bad now for us.
I would agree. Pice, you also stick with him at left centre-back, I assume?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I can't see who else would play that.
No, exactly. Theoretically, Cucurella, but, after last Sunday, better not. But then the real only question that is left is the right centre back. Now, maybe it's not even a question anymore because Trevor Chalobah's just played super well. But Lewis, do you think Trevor Chalobah keeps the spot on the right side of the back three, or is there a shout for playing Aspie at right centre back?
No. Chalobah's probably been our second most consistent defender this season. For me, he's got to be one of the first names on the team sheet.
I agree. I mean, maybe not necessarily first name on the team sheet, but I agree that he has to start. Absolutely. Pice, do you agree as well, or would you throw an Aspie in there?
No, 100% agree. I think Chalobah should play. Yeah, he's looked pretty good, to be fair, and I think he's performed in a lot of big games for Chelsea, so I have no worries with him.
Cool. All right. Right wing back then. Loftus-Cheek, Azpilicueta, some crazy winger shout. What are you thinking, Pice?
Loftus-Cheek, again, for me, can go sort of play that inverted role as well, kind of drift into midfield. But I think the reason why I'm putting him there instead of an Aspie is because I think his physicality against Rashford will make more sense than Rashford against Aspie, in my opinion. I think Loftus-Cheek is going to have to be careful with how much he goes forward. But
do you think Ruben will be defensive enough to be in duels with Rashford that much? Won't it just be?
I think he's disciplined enough to be, and I think if there's the game plan where he leaves Chalobah isolated, then that's bad news. He needs to make sure that he does his defensive duties, and I think he can do this. I think just him, like I can just see him bullying Rashford. Like if he just don't give him a sniff, like just get straight into him. Do what Reece James did against Leao. Like even if he's not attacking, right? Rashford just receives the ball, like it was back to goal or something. Just literally just go in and just clamp him.
Just
you know what I mean? Let him, just clatter him. Like Ruben's a huge lad. Like just, you know what I mean? You shouldn't be scared of Rashford. Like put it on him. You know what I mean? Like just don't see Aspie doing that. So that's why I've gone with Ruben there.
First, Lewis, for you, Loftus-Cheek again. I know you said earlier in terms that you would like to give a rest to like either, well, not overdo it for him and Kovacic, but is Man United the day where we should be thinking about that? I mean, Salzburg is obviously an important and a big game on Tuesday as well, but still less difficult of an opponent than Man United, I would say. Sorry, Lewis, would you go Ruben or Aspie or somebody else at right wing back? Oh, Lewis is not here. Sorry, didn't even see. There you go, 2 minutes. No worries, bro. He will be back in a second. For me, I was honestly thinking about putting Aspie there before the game or before we did this. And part of me still thinks that because of what you said, Pice, in terms of the counter-attack. And I just feel like I would almost want to do a switcheroo in them. Where I'm like, you think you're going to counter-attack? Actually, boys, we're going to sit back. You're not going to counter anything. Fuck off. Do you know what I mean? And then where I'm like, okay, put Aspie there. And then just, I don't know, maybe leave Jorginho out, play Ruben and Kepa in midfield, and then just have the back five, and then everyone else just steamroll them. I don't know if that's a logical idea or a particularly effective idea. But I was thinking of Aspie. Lewis, Ruben, Aspie, some other rogue shout for right wing back? What are you thinking?
It has to be one or the other. And I feel like it would be better for us if it was Ruben, but then I don't really know what we do for the next game because then we've got another game on Tuesday that's must win as well. Aspie might happen there. I would rather that than either Sterling or Pulisic. They just can't play left wing back anymore. Right wing back doesn't work, and you don't.
On the left, they're seemingly more comfortable, both of them. At least Sterling. Then it wasn't a right, but yeah.
Yeah, but even in the Salzburg games, we played him a bit further forward than actually doing wing back shifts. He was getting him more in the central areas of the pitch. Right wing back, it doesn't work for either of them. I would go Ruben in terms of our best option, but it could be either Ruben or Aspie. But I'll say Ruben as our strongest team.
Fair dues. Let's put Ruben in the team then. On the left side, see, I honestly don't know here at the moment because Pice said it. You said it really well after the last game. When Chilwell plays, I'm like, I wish we had Cucurella. When Cucurella plays, I wish we had Chilwell because they both have certain strength that the other person doesn't have. And then they both have weaknesses where the other person has the strength. Because Cucurella in the final third is a complete waste man. It's complete pointless. Now, maybe that will change over time as he gets more used to being here. But Cucurella has very little excuse. He's moved in the same league And now he's got the same flipping manager he had at Brighton. So like he has very little excuses to not be performing, quite frankly. And he didn't. And Chilwell was left out completely. So maybe just for the legs, for the pace, I'm thinking Chilwell. But I guarantee that if Chilwell plays, I will sit there and saying, I wish we had Cucurella's ball retention. Excuse me. I wish we had Cucurella's ball retention. And then if Cucurella plays, I wish we had Chilwell's athleticism, crossing, shooting. I will pick Chilwell on my end. But honestly, there's not really much between them at the moment, and not in a good way. Lewis, number one, what's your thoughts on the whole Chilwell-Cucurella situation at the moment in general? And then who would you pick tomorrow?
I generally think Cucurella's better than Chilwell right now, but I don't really say that in a bad way to Chilwell. I think his in-game management has clearly taken a dip with all the time that he's been out with the ACL injury, and he still needs to take some time to trust his body. So I don't have any negative energy towards Chilwell, especially when he isn't really having the best of games, because I get it. I would give him at least a year. And at the very least, we got Cucurella, who I think is a much better option for us right now. Whereas last year, it would have been Marcus Alonso. And we saw how that worked for us last season. So I still think we have upgraded.
Barcelona played Marcus Alonso as centre-back on the weekend and won 3-0.
Apparently he played well.
But he got really lucky late on. Obviously, it would have only been 3-0 then, 3-1 then. But still, he got absolutely spun in the last minute in the box. It was quite funny. But centre-back, Marcus Alonso, maybe we should have been doing that. Because at centre-back, it's less annoying if you're slow than at left-back. I can't lie. But so, by judging by what you just said, would you pick Cucurella then, Lewis?
Cucurella, he played the majority of the game on Wednesday for me. In the strongest lineup, I would go Cucurella, but I think it would be Chilwell, just because he'd be more fitter for this sort of game. And even then, I don't think it's as bad of a drop-off as people make it out to be. He is very slow on the ball sometimes, and he's not as progressive as we'd want him to be with his passing. But I don't think he loses the ball as much.
When he just runs around.
Yeah. And he doesn't lose the ball as much. Cucurella has also been good, but he is coming off a poor Villa game, and he wasn't really that great in the Brentford game as well. So his stock has taken a bit of a hit too.
There you go. Pice, do you agree? Chile over Cucurella in this one, or would you throw Cucurella in there again?
See, I want to pick Cucurella, but the fact that he sort of rested Chilwell makes me think he's going to start this game. But then I thought, well, is he really going to drop Cucurella like his guy, as his guys in the sense of, is he really going to drop him for a big game? I don't know, to be fair. It's really, really hard. I'm going to go with Cucurella, but again, I do agree with you. You miss one thing from one guy and, you want the other type thing. And that's kind of where I'm at the moment as well. So I think it will be Chilwell, but I'm going to go with Cucurella just because, again, I think defensively, Anthony against Chilwell just gives me absolute nightmares, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I do hear it's difficult for me. So in an ideal world, I would start Chilwell, we take the lead, and then after an hour, we'll bring Cucurella on, who's better at ball retention, and then when we try to see the game out. That's in an ideal world.
Yeah, he might do that, to be fair. Or he might
But
do
then
that
what if we don't take the lead? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you can never plan for that, I guess.
No, absolutely. Okay, we had two Chilwell, so we'll stick with Chilwell. And Lee, what I meant basically is, what was Thomas Tuchel's 8th game? Because he said the first 7 games between Potter and Tuchel had the same results, draw, then 5 wins and another draw. So what was Thomas Tuchel's 8th game? Did we win that? Because then I'm just going to go with it, and we're going to win tomorrow as well. But if we didn't win that, then obviously I don't want that to be true at all. But yeah,
I will check that for you, bro.
I'm sure Lee will figure out, but you can check as well. Let's get to the midfielders then. Well, it's kind of a non-question now because we picked Ruben on the right side. We kind of only have Kovacic and Jorginho available, really, right? I assume, Lewis, I'll ask you first. I assume you're not going to throw a Zakaria or a Gallagher in the pivot or a Mount in the pivot or a Chukwuemeka in the pivot. I assume it's just going to have to be Kovacic and Jorginho, right?
Has to be. It's not ideal that they're going to be playing so much minutes within a week, but it's the situation that we're in. That's still going to be our best pivot, so we move with it.
Absolutely. And again, if we do take the lead, we can bring Aspie on, put Aspie on for cover, put Ruben in midfield. But that only works if we take the lead. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, that's a bit more of a tricky situation. But I guess, Pice, on your end as well, Kovacic, Jorginho, now that we've picked Ruben on the wing back, not really much of another option, is there?
Yeah, it got me those, but you've got them the wrong way around, bro.
Nope, I do not. You'll see tomorrow if they play. Or just watch the Brentford game back. That's enough. You can just do that.
Oh my god.
Just watch the Brentford game back. Literally one click is enough. You'll see Conway's always in there. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Well, Lewis, I'll ask you. When Kovacic and Jorginho play, who do you think always plays in the left and who do you think plays in the right?
Shit, I don't pay attention to that. I'll be real with you. I can't tell you. Sorry. With that in mind, though, I'm going to keep an eye on that for tomorrow because I never actually focused on that.
There you go. No fair play. Hey, it does switch around, but it only switches around when Kante plays, then Jorginho plays in the left. And with everyone else, Jorginho plays in the right. But who knows? Pice has informed me, though, on a much better note, that our 8th game under Thomas Tuchel, we won 1-0 against Atletico. So if we win 1-0 tomorrow, I'll bloody take it. Or just any win. It doesn't matter how we win. But all right, regardless of which way around they are, doesn't matter. Jorginho and Kovacic. All right, let's get to the front three then. Even this is, to me, pretty straightforward. I think we're probably all going to agree on Aubameyang and Mason Mount, I assume. Unless anyone wants to throw Broja in there, I just don't think Man United will allow us any space in behind to make Broja that useful. So that's why.
Oh, they will. It's Ten Hag, bro. He plays a high line.
Yeah, but it's
I
also
hope
Man
he does
United
tomorrow. Hope he does tomorrow.
It's also Man United at the Bridge. Man United at the Bridge, they will park the bus. I don't care who the manager is. They always park the bus. Maybe I'm proven wrong, but every time I thought that, they had different manager, they parked the bus every time. To be fair, all the other managers are known for that. I understand. But still, it's Man United at the Bridge. I've never seen them not park the bus in the last 10 years. Do you know what I mean? But hey, still, would you pick Broja then if you think there is a high line to be held, to be attacked? Or Aubameyang is still quick, so should be okay for that too.
Well, I was going to put a rogue shot out there and play like Mount just behind two strikers of Aubameyang and Broja to help out in midfield. But I think he'll play wingers, and I don't see Sterling not playing. So, yeah. Yeah.
If I'm honest, I don't see it either. So most likely, let's leave it at, Mount on the right and then someone else potentially on the left. And Aubameyang up top. I mean, Lewis, would you start Aubameyang up top? Would you throw Broja in there? I assume none of us are going to pick Havertz at this point.
No chance. Yeah, that would have been my front three with Sterling on the left, obviously. But yeah, Aubameyang walks it back into the lineup. Best striker, you need him for these sorts of games. Same thing with Sterling, even though his form hasn't been great.
Have you seen his record against Man United? He's not scored in like 24 games. He's never scored against them ever.
Is it that bad?
He's never scored against them.
20 raw. Yeah, crap. Has he assisted? I
don't know, but he's never scored against them. He's got a duck against Man United.
At least let him have assist, but hey, streaks are meant to be broken, innit? So let's hope that happens on Saturday.
If he breaks it in a Chelsea shirt, then that's great, because that's just a FU to Man City.
The pressure's off him, because Liverpool v United and City v United, they are bigger fixtures than Chelsea v United. They're both basically derbies. So maybe the pressure's off him a bit more now.
Pressure's got to be on him, actually, considering how he's playing.
Plenty of pressure to be
yeah. Now you put that into account. He has to turn up in this game. I completely agree. If he has another stinker, then there's going to be a lot more questions on him. And I don't want that because he's our best forward. But he has to show it.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I'll ask Pice first before I add my opinion on this, even though most people probably already know it. Pice, you said Sterling will start in Graham Potter's team. Would he start in your team as well?
I would actually start Pulisic, but I think it's going to be Sterling. I think Pulisic deserves a start, to be honest with you.
I do too. I will write both down because I completely agree that it will be Raheem Sterling.
Like, if Pulisic doesn't start, he's got to be the first one off the bench. Like, no question.
And the first name on the team sheet on Tuesday.
100%. 100,000%.
And he won't be.
His cameo against...
two games either.
Yeah, but his cameo against Villa was really, really good. Like, what else can you do at that point? Brentford, yeah, same thing, pretty much.
Same thing. Yeah, I mean... Yeah, to me, on the basis of recent performances, I think Pulisic, number one, deserves a start. Started against Wolves, scored, played well. Then was an unused subs for 2 games, which I still find a little bit ridiculous. Then he's finally given a chance again, and he's our best attacker on the day, even though he only played half an hour. I think Pulisic deserves a chance, and Sterling, frankly, doesn't, because it's pissing me off with how long he's waiting on every shot. But if we're being honest and realistic, it will be Raheem Sterling. Now, Lewis, what's your thoughts on the whole Pulisic situation? He started against Wolves, then didn't even come on against Milan, didn't even come on against Villa either. What's your perspective on this? Because to me, on the basis of performances, he should be playing. So does that make you think he's training badly, like Eden Hazard trains badly? You know how Eden Hazard before the season said, this season we'll see the old Eden Hazard again. But my guy's an unused sub every game. Well, obviously, because Hazard trains badly. So how, without getting to a play, will he ever show Ancelotti that he's the old Hazard again? Because my guy doesn't train. So is Pulisic like that? Or can you see any other? Because fair enough, tomorrow is United. Maybe he just picks Sterling anyway. But against Brentford, surely Pulisic should have started this, right?
Definitely. Like, I have no idea how he didn't start. I would have rather Mount got benched for that game, because just you give him more fitness for the game against United, even if he didn't come off as a sub. I know most people would have said Havertz, but I wanted Havertz to play the full 90. It meant he wouldn't play this game. Reasonable sacrifice for me. But Pulisic has been, all of his stands, like, people hate them, but it's like the last few weeks they have been completely justified in being fuming, because he has come off a very good performance against Wolves. I don't think he came off the bench against Milan. No. I think he came off the bench against Villa, but he again didn't start.
No, he didn't come off the bench against Villa either, I'm pretty sure. Only against
two
Brentford.
Games not even off the bench. Brentford, United, Salzburg. Brentford, even with respect to them, that was the one game where we had to rotate with the other two games in mind. How Pulisic didn't get a start in a rotated Chelsea side makes absolutely no sense to me, especially with his impact when he came off the bench, because we were severely lacking with someone who could get the ball and just drive at players and ask questions of them. And the weird thing is that I don't expect him to start this game now as a result of it. I don't expect him to start the game against Salzburg. The next one is probably going to be the Brighton game, potentially, because the other games are just too important. But he deserves a start, because it's not even like he's been playing badly. And I can't lie, we have had the likes of Havertz start basically every match, and he's been poor. At the very least, compared to him, he should be seeing more minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, you wanted a back four, so maybe that would have theoretically allowed both if it was a 4-2-3-1, but in a 4-3-3, it wouldn't have either. So it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. This is the team in the end we went for. Excuse me. Like I say, I would prefer to see Pulisic, but we all know it's going to be Raheem Sterling. So how do we think this game goes then? Pice, I'll go with you first. You said, United will play a high line. You think they will come to play football. So do you think they will dominate us? Do you think it will be an even game, a consistent even game? Do you think it will like ebb and flow, where like for parts they will be on top, for parts we will be on top? Or do you think in an ideal world, we just dominate them and win convincingly?
I think we'll dominate them, but I think they'll probably score on the counter-attack, and then it might become quite even. I think it'll probably go to 1-1, and then I think late on, probably 70 to 90 minutes, I think then it will kind of ebb and flow. Yeah.
Fair dues. Lewis, what are you expecting from the game? Do you think we're going to control it, dominate it? Do you think they might? Do you think it will be back and forth? What do you reckon?
I think there'll be goals. I definitely don't think it'll be a goalless game. I don't know. All depends on the way we set up, because I'm worried about how we're going to deal with their transitions, because I think that's where they could really hurt us, and especially the midfield battle. But we're capable of getting a result. We're definitely capable of beating Man United. I'm not necessarily going into this game with no confidence. I'm just more cautiously optimistic. I think United fans would be the exact same way. So see what happens. Like, it's about time we get a win against United. It's been way too long, but there always seems to be a bozo moment, and I'm just hoping one doesn't turn up. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
That's the thing we need. I mean, Lee Taylor said it here. Chelsea haven't beaten Man United in the last 9 Premier League meetings. Obviously, that's not just at Stamford Bridge, but still, the bozo moments. Whether that was Jorginho, that one touch when he was apparently blinded by the floodlights, or I can't remember the other stinkers, but we've had stinkers, and it's just like, just don't make a stupid error. If we don't make a stupid error, the likelihood of us getting a win are drastically increased. Even if this game, unfortunately, to me at least, has a draw written all over it. I'm not sure which kind of score draw. Is it a 1-1, 2-1, theoretically even 0-0 if both are a bit too pragmatic, which I wouldn't be surprised at either, if I'm honest, because both don't want to lose. I don't really know. I hope I hope we can dominate. I hope we will dominate. But I feel like that Graham Potter's plan will be to sit off a little bit. I think that. Not sit off and park the bus, not by any means, but sit off to stop their counter-attacking threat. If we let them control the game more, they can't counter-attack as much. And then I think we will try to, with our hard press, win the ball back and then attack quickly. Now, Maguire doesn't play anymore these days, which has clearly helped Man United. But still, I think they are still susceptible to certain, if you hit them right, you can beat them. But at the same time, that's literally Antonio Conte. Antonio Conte tried to sit back and do something, and it didn't work. So I still think Potter's going to do that. I just hope it works. That's the part I'm less sure about. Score predictions, boys. Pice, I'll ask you first.
1-1, I think. Want it to be 2-1, but I'm going to go 1-1.
Okay. I will inform the people. Now, Aaron, Lewis won't know, but Aaron has had a lot of good predictions recently. But unfortunately, his Brentford one was wrong. He said 2-0. So this time, he said 1-0. We'll see tomorrow whether he's on serious fraud watch for getting 2 predictions wrong, or at least whether we'll get the dub. Lewis, on your end, 1-1, Pice said. What are you going to go with?
2-0. I'm going to go for Abba double.
You think clean sheet? Oh, that'd be good.
We've managed to hold it for this long, so we might as well go for another game.
That'd be good if we kept the clean sheet in 1.
Absolutely. I'll go between you guys. I'll say 2-1. I don't really know which way does it go. We go 2-0 up, they get 1 back, then we have to see it out. Is it 1-1 and we get a winner? Who knows? I don't care. Please, for the love of God, just win. There's no Anthony Taylor tomorrow. But who is it on VAR? I forget again, but someone that pissed us off a few times. Was it Michael Oliver? I'm not sure anymore. But anyway, let's hope we're not screwed by VAR. That's the one positive. Now, every other team is laughing when when Harry Maguire plays. But we are in deep trouble every time Harry Maguire plays because he completely assaults every one of our players and gets away with it every time. Whether it was Aspie at Old Trafford, whether it was Paul Michy Batshuayi's testicles at at Stamford Bridge, all of them get assaulted by Harry Maguire. So if he doesn't play, maybe there's a chance that, they don't get away with a red card offense. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate every single one of you that has tuned in today. If you're still here, I appreciate you very much. Subscribe if you haven't already. Smash that like button on your way out. Just one click of a button. It doesn't cost you any money or any time. So please do click that. Hit the notification bell button as well and click all so you don't miss any of your future streams. But yeah, I appreciate it. Please do check out Lewis's channel down in the description below. Of course, follow Pice on Twitter too. But first and foremost, check out his website, chelseafc365.com. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, upwards and onwards. Hopefully, we get a win tomorrow. And I'll see you next time.